Yeah. Okay. Anybody in the waiting room? Okay, what do I need to do, Brennan? Or just go ahead? All set? Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Let's get a call meeting of the MN Steer Reuse Committee to order. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and this is a hybrid meeting that is being recorded. So let me just run quickly through the agenda. First item is to review and approve the minutes of January 8th. Then a discussion with Pastor Ellis from the Shutesbury Church and Chris Spudit, a member of the Shutesbury Church, who Chris is here, and Pastor Ellis is here. Great. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Then I'm going to give an update on my conversation with Town Council Donna McNichol about any legal issues regarding shared septic systems, water, and then unanticipated business. And I would say just a report from you, Henry. I mean, you sent us an email about your call with Al Werner, but it needs to come up sooner. You can tell us what he said. We won't have it as a separate item. And then scheduled next meeting date. Is there any other unanticipated business? Anything else we wanted to add to the agenda? Okay, so why don't we go ahead and we can launch into
number 2.
having Chris, and I don't know if you can pull around here just a little bit, and I can see those guys. So thank you for making the time to meet with us. I'm not sure, do you know sort of what this committee is discussing, or do you want me to give a brief overview of what we're up to here? Mark, you are muted, so can you unmute your screen? Can I unmute?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, we understand that they want to, you guys or the town wants to reuse the town library there, and just exploring what are the options for water and septic.
That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
So we as a committee have been meeting for a few months, and we're at the point of saying, okay, made the decision, or going to make the recommendation that whatever use there is there, that it's going to need a bathroom and running water. And we've met with the Board of Health, with Kat Hilton from the Board of Health, and then had a conversation with Alan Weiss, who's a sanitary engineer, who's done a lot of work in Shutesbury. After that discussion, determined that the most expeditious and cost-effective means of getting water and sewer to the MN Spear building would be looking at existing facilities. And the church's well and septic system are obviously the closest. Could come over here, but has its complications. So I know Henry did a little bit of research with Al Werner, who lives in town, who's a geologist, hydrogeologist. Just to talk to him about are there any limitations on the existing well and septic system? If we wanted to do something, what are we going to run into on the town common? But maybe we could start by, if you can share with us as much information as you have about the well that's there, the septic system that's there, age, condition, that sort of thing. That would be really useful.
You want to go, Mark? You want me to talk?
Why don't you go ahead? You've been talking about it more.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll jump in.
as you folks know, we just had to replace the water line um, this past summer because there was a crack in the water line. But the well is a shallow well. We have had, years of periods where it would be dry just for the church itself. Um, so unless that was deepened, drilled uh, in that through that well, through that shallow well, I it would certainly not be a reliable source um, for two buildings, never mind one. Um,
And the water is contaminated with PFAS, is that
yes, a
correct?
very low level of PFAS. We do have the filters provided by the town, monitored by the engineering company there. Um, and those are installed.
We've had 2 summers since I've been there, that's 7 years, that we have run out of water for um, 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Okay,
A few summers ago, we had to get a porta potty and put that outside the church. Um, Otherwise, we've used water to flush, and clean water for hand washing that we carry in. So I don't see it as a reliable source. Um, Certainly not for two buildings.
yeah.
It's been a nuisance for us on occasion, obviously.
Yeah.
And do you know the depth? When you say shallow, I mean, is it 20 feet, 40 feet, or
No,
No, no,
you don't know?
no,
Okay.
probably 12, 14.
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's very shallow.
Okay,
There's only a few feet of water in it.
okay. Any other questions about the well? And it's currently serving, so you have 2 bathrooms? What do you have, in the,
One bathroom.
One
Two,
bathroom.
I'm sorry.
Two bathrooms.
Two bathrooms, two toilets, two sinks.
okay,
The thing is, the church only uses it 2 days a week.
right,
Sunday morning and generally we have a midweek meeting of some sort, which is often only 5 or 6 people. Uh, on the weekend, we might have 20. So it's not a lot of use. We don't use the water for cooking or anything like that because we're unsure of its potability. And we do have 2 filters. One is osmosis, is that right, Chris?
It's the no, not
Oh, it's the ultralight filter.
ultraviolet. Yeah.
Yeah, that was put in, I don't know how long ago, but maybe 8 or 10 years ago after a water test that we did. So it's presumably drinkable, but we don't we don't use it for coffee or anything like that.
so you have
Just for
water,
hand washing.
jugs, yeah. Your water
We
jugs,
still bring in water. We still carry in water for drinking.
okay,
So it gets very little use, and on dry summers it definitely runs out, despite our very little use.
Mark, you said 2 filters. The second one is the PFAS filter, I assume?
Yes, that's
Correct.
correct.
okay.
Correct.
So there's PFAS, I want to.
So I mean, potentially, if the it, if the town wanted to drill, you could get more water. I'm not sure, cost effective, starting a new well or drilling down in that one. I don't know. But
Okay, why don't we talk about the septic system and then we can circle back to
yeah.
kind of how we might work together and sort of what we're looking for. So what can you tell us about the septic system?
So the septic system is an old system. It's been there for many years. It's only if I believe it's only 1,000 gallons. which I don't think would be adequate to manage two facilities. You would have to pump your septic uphill to get to it because it's up right next to the church by the fire escape, and the leach field is out towards Julia Taylor's property there in that field. But it's a fairly small system built years ago for
Okay.
the little use that we give it.
And so you said the tank is by the fire escape. And then the leach field, I think we had a map from the Board of Health.
Tank
But-
and this
Uh,
leach field. It's very.
And have you had any problems with the leach field, or you have the tank pumped out on any kind of regular basis, or?
We have not had it pumped out in a number of years. We have
Yeah.
not had any problems with it.
Yeah.
It's been reliable.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so we do have the from the plan from the Board of Health that illustrates where everything is. Other questions?
Does the Board of Health say how many gallons it is?
Yeah, 1,500.
1,500, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what I don't know how that calculates for, residences or
Use.
use.
Right. Yeah, all of that I think would have to be investigated. Stephen, go ahead.
Do you know how long ago it was that it was pumped last?
I cannot recall the last time it was pumped.
So it's been more than,
I mean, it was checked. It was checked. I'm going to say 4 or 5 years ago. It was opened, and it was not full.
And who is the pumper? Do you know? They might have a record of the
Oh,
last.
this would have been Buzzy Booth did some work on it.
Yeah, but he's not a septic pumper.
No, he's a plumber. He's not a right. He's not a pumper or.
Yeah.
Never been pumped in my 7 years,
Okay,
Okay.
and I don't know what happened before, obviously.
okay. It's not, I mean, as you say, it's not used very much.
Very little use. Very little use.
with that kind of use, it's probably clean because everything would be able to digest and
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
You would say it's probably clean because it's.
because of the lack of use or the minimal use, it's probably clean. Everything gets to digest.
Right. Exactly. And there's very little water being pumped into it, so
Right.
to leach out.
So, what we have, what we're, thinking about investigating is, whether it would be feasible to, if we were gonna have a bathroom in the Sphere building and, assuming it has would have regular use, still not high volume.
Low use,
Low,
yeah.
yeah, not low volume, but regular use.
Right.
Let's put it that way. Then could we improve could we dig in either a new well or with the existing well, go deeper and with the existing tank, would that be adequate? I don't know. Maybe it would be adequate once we figured out the actual use. But would we have to expand the leach field or do a new leach field to make it in conformance with Title V? And I know very little about Title V requirements. I think, once we're doing something new, it could be that we have to bring everything up to Title V for the septic system. And the well, obviously, the issue is making sure there's enough volume and that is there an issue of getting the water from that well to the Emmett Spear building? I can't imagine there is, but that's a question for an engineer.
Right.
So, if that were the case, I guess what this committee would like to hear from the church is, would you be in agreement if we were to, we would assume those costs. I assume we would assume those costs, but we have to sort of check everything out, of any construction, of having an agreement with the town of Shutesbury about shared system.
Yeah, I mean, we're part of the town. We'd love to work with the town. We want to help out the town as much as we can.
Yeah,
Sure.
we are a congregational church, however, so it would take a congregational vote, but I don't anticipate that would be a problem.
Okay.
We do not have the money to invest in any of this. That's the only,
Right.
if the town is able to assume the costs, then that would be the ideal situation.
I think I think again, I'm not speaking, having any kind of authorization here or legal review, but I don't see an issue with the town assuming the cost of doing the improvements or, putting in something new if that was the case. I think the only issue would be ongoing maintenance, and that there would, I assume, be some sort of memorandum of agreement between the church and the town of Shutesbury, and that there might be some shared costs vis-a-vis like pumping out the tank. Now, obviously, if
Right.
our use was going to be more significant, we could pick up a bigger share in that memorandum of agreement, but that would be the way we would do it. Would it help if I talked now about my discussion with Donna? Just because I checked with town council. And I don't know if you guys can stick around. She had some questions that but
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I'll go ahead, and why don't you tell us what you learned?
Hi there. Yeah, Al Werner, a geologist, hydrogeologist, sent me some information. He did not attend the meeting today. But I guess first off, a lot of the information, according to him, about the quality of the water should be with the Board of Health.
Yeah.
As well as maybe other information about this sediment, the kind of sediment that's
Mhm.
involved here. Al notes that we're looking at bedrock close to the surface here, thin glacial sediment. Septic would likely need to be mounded. I have no idea what that means. Mounded.
That's a mound.
That's the
Go
leach
down
field,
to the
probably.
lake.
All right.
See lots of mounds there.
Okay, the church has a dug well in quotes and indicates a pretty high local water table. I think we knew this already. He doesn't know why. And I guess that's out of the question anyway. But
No,
we're not gonna rely on the shallow well.
no, I don't think we could rely on a shallow well,
Oh.
correct?
Then the other point he makes, the town well is contaminated. This is salt contamination.
This
The one over here.
Yep.
This we-
Any new well may also be salty due to road salt. Things might improve as you move away from the road and uphill and or go deeper. We'll need to pay attention to existing wells and setbacks. And those are his observations
Yeah,
so far.
Yeah.
And he's open to any questions we might have.
yeah, no, that's great. the bedrock was a question that we had
Tight
talked
tank.
about at our last meeting, because we were talking about whether or not we could have a tight tank, you know, that could get pumped out rather than, the leach field. So, the issue with the tight tank is it was like it had to go down 6 or 8 feet, is my recollection. And so that would be excavating for a tight tank. I think it's used at some places at the lake too. Some people have them.
A lot of
Um,
people.
Then they get, you know, they have to get pumped out periodically. So there's a, you know, there's a maintenance cost. So you have to weigh the doing like a tight tank and the expense of trying to dig something into the ground there. And that could be an issue. It also raises issues about the fact that, you know, we're working on the town common. And so I'm just gonna give you a little bit of information, you know, from Donna. Basically, Donna McNichol, who's our town council, said that, you know, town commons are considered parks and they're regulated by the legislature. So the town of Shutesbury can't independently decide that it's going to do things on the town common, that you have to get permission of the legislature. And there's something called Article 97 process. And this is a, you know, this is a ways out. So the land is owned by the Commonwealth. You know, we call it town land, but it's really owned by and controlled by the Commonwealth. And the state's Department of Environmental Affairs kind of oversees this. So for us, as we think about, you know, can we do something there with the well and the septic system, we have to be aware of the fact that we have this Article 97 that we would have to check out. Another thing that is an issue, and but Donna thinks she basically said to me, look, don't spend any money on me right now. Find out whether or not this is feasible and then come back and then we can deal with the legal issues. But there is something called the Anti-Aid Amendment, which prohibits municipalities from aiding private entities. And excuse me, she said that she doesn't think the Anti-Aid Amendment would stand in the way of us sharing a system. But again, she said, I will do, once you tell me that you want to go down this path and investigate that, then, you know, spend some money on legal. So that's kind of where we are. You know, she said that the first step is speaking with obviously what we're doing here, speaking with the church, making sure that the church would be on board for us doing this, and then we'll do some more investigation about feasibility, and that would entail having a sanitary engineer do some evaluation and maybe do, you know, maybe it's a perk test, you know, looking at what, you know, what we could do there for a septic system, and then also doing some borings or whatever, just getting a sense of what would be entailed in digging essentially a new well. You might do it in the same location or you might not, but what we need to find out is, you know, if the church is on board, then what kind of technical roadblocks are that we would be faced with. And so we'll be doing this site assessment, site evaluation by the guy who I spoke with when I reported back to the committee the last time. Alan Weiss works out of Belchertown. He's very familiar with Shutesbury, has done a lot of work here, both for the town and for individual homeowners. And he was cited by the Board of Health as really the go-to person. So that was reassuring that, that the person we were talking to and Alan would be available. This committee would have to put a scope of services together, and find, the funding to do the evaluation. So if the committee decides that that's the next step, we'll talk about that. But we just wanted to, check in with you folks. And do you have any questions for us about?
I have a
process?
couple of, I have one question and one statement. If you're going to put in a new septic system and ours is working fine for us,
Mhm.
why would you go with a shared one? Why not just put one in for the old library? If it's got to be replaced, if ours would have to be replaced.
That's a good question. We might not, we might go ahead and put a whole new one in. I think
Right.
the issue, Mark, is anytime, again, you start digging up the town common, you have to go back to the state that's saying, well, wait a minute, you already have, they could, I don't know, they could say, why not take what you have existing there, improve it, and don't dig up the common. Common's not that big. And so, it could potentially be an issue. I don't think they'd be thrilled with the mound. We had to
No.
do a mound on the town common. It's pretty small and there's not a lot of room behind that Spear building, off to the side. Julie's property abuts right up to it.
Right.
And it has to be a certain distance from the well. So, you're operating in a relatively small area. And I think that's for someone who knows a lot more than I do or we do, to evaluate, to tell us, could we do our own septic system just for that building? Where would it go and what would it look like? And could it get approved by the Department of Environmental Affairs? So that's the only reason for saying, if we could take what we have now and improve it, it would be a lot simpler.
Okay, so in my statement is, although we have pretty much assured you that we believe the church would be willing to go into partnership, and we already are in partnership, really, with the town. It's not our well, it's a town well that was put in by the town for the church. So that wouldn't be a problem, but finances, I cannot guarantee. When we put the lift in, we took on, and these are no state secrets because we've discussed them at services that are on YouTube. We took on a fairly significant, probably a 15 or 20% increase in our annual budget, which we're now shortfalling on by 25%. And can we add any more to that? That would be an annual required cost. I don't know how we could possibly do it. We certainly couldn't do it this year or next. So I don't see the church coming into a maintenance financial obligation for that unless it's minimal,
Okay.
like a few $100 max a
Yeah.
year. We just don't have it.
Yeah.
With our current membership. Now, we'd love for any of you to come and join us, worship with us weekly, become members, or any of your friends or family, and perhaps contribute to our offerings each week. That'd be great.
Any other questions from the committee members, Paul?
Yeah, I assume, I'm not sure when this agreement between the town and the church happened for the well and the septic, but I would assume that some type of agreement was drawn up back at that time. Are either one of you aware of that, or do you have a copy of it?
No.
Nope.
There's nothing in
No.
our church records. Somewhere it says the date that the well was put in by the town, approved by the select board. I don't know if I've ever seen anything on the septic system, have you?
No, no.
But I'm fairly sure that what I've heard is that the town installed it. But I'm not 100% of that. You know, the relationship between the town and the church going back 200 years next year, or 200th anniversary. Um, eh, there's been very, very little that we can find that's ever been put on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always been sort of a handshake.
And similarly, the situation at the parsonage when we sold it. And we were unable to find anything really with the town about sharing the firefighters, fire department's water. The only
Right.
thing we were able to find was one mention at a select board meeting in the 1970s in their minutes, but never any kind of a written agreement between the two.
It's a problem, and
Oh, yeah.
we've been looking, and Donna was familiar with it just because it was, a question was raised when the well was improved this summer, there was town involvement.
Mhm.
And then the church, had to assumed costs associated with it.
The town assumed all of the costs from the well up to the point of the church foundation, and then we assumed cost inside the church. Because the well and the pipe were all installed by the town and owned by the town. So our only cost was inside the church. It's a very awkward situation.
Yeah.
It would have been nice in 1828 when they finalized the agreement between the town and the church, if someone had thought to ask for another 40 yards or something
Right.
around the building, but nobody did. So we owned the building, and we owned nothing beyond that. I mean, a few feet by state law, we have use of a few feet just by adverse possession law. But that's it.
So the church is on the town common, and the church just has like the church and as
Just the
Mark is
just the
saying, just
footprint.
a very,
We own our footprint.
yeah. Any other questions that you, Chris or Mark, that you have, or committee members?
I just wanted to make it clear that we cannot guarantee that we would be able to assist with any kind of funding. We're already in a negative budget, and
Yeah.
I don't know how we would conceivably do it.
I guess I just have one other question. When you said that the congregational church needs to vote, so is that just your parishioners here,
Yes.
or is it, it's not, there's
No,
no
it's
other
just,
like
it's
higher?
just local
It's just
membership.
local, okay.
We are an independent, well, we're part of American Baptist Churches of Massachusetts, but as far as the operation of the church, we're completely independent.
Okay. All right, that's helpful.
I just had a quick question about, what, do you have any sort of time frame here, or you working on any time frame?
We don't have any kind of deadline. Obviously the building is now vacant. The library is still kind of in and out of there, moving some stuff, and so I think they were hoping to have access to it, for the next couple of months. This committee, I'd love to see us wrap up in the next 2 or 3 months with a recommendation that would go to the select board, and then thereafter, if there's money or other approvals that need to be secured, it would go to town meeting. So, we expanded our charge a little bit by looking at the existing town hall space, as an option for improving and, with offices and so forth. And then the Emmett Spear building is sort of separate. The big issue for the town is that the building, in order to be covered under our insurance, it has to be in regular use. So even vacant, we need to demonstrate that we're in and out of that building for insurance purposes. Otherwise, we could lose our insurance, and if something happened, we'd be out of luck. So, whether, it would be a while before anything could actually be done, because we would need town meeting authorization, and, possibly if we had to go through the Article 97 process through the Department of Environmental Affairs, that's going to take some time. So it's hard to give an exact date, but, we have a path, just how long that's going to take. I don't want to venture to say, because I don't know what the timing is going to look like.
But the goal would be to have some sort of proposal on the agenda for the spring town meeting.
I have my doubts as to whether we would have all the numbers together. We might, I don't know, that would be a stretch. But if we really hustled now, we might be able to do it. Town meeting is the
May 9th.
second, thank
May
you,
9th.
May 9th.
Warrant articles would be signed before that
Yes, so a couple of weeks
in April.
before that, yeah.
But there could be there could be a warrant article that sort of lays it out and gets contingent approval. Or it could come up at a special town meeting,
Right.
which we schedule in the fall.
Yeah. So it's,
Okay.
I think it's a question of, this committee making some recommendations and us having some numbers and some, a development, what I'll call a development plan for the building and the water and sewer. So so stay tuned. You're welcome to join us. We do our meetings. We meet every couple of weeks. We meet in a hybrid form such as today, and all of our meetings are recorded. If you can't attend and want to find out what's happened, we post minutes and so forth.
So
And
will you continue to send us notices of each meeting?
if you want, sure.
You can also get on the town calendar and see it on there.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So,
Well, a
right.
reminder would probably be helpful. If you
Brennan is-
send those out.
Okay, yeah, but we send reminders out, yeah.
Yeah.
But do check, and as I said, you're welcome to attend any. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning. It's been really helpful. And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting as we discuss things. So,
All right, thank you.
okay.
Thank you very much.
So let me just recap what I said about my discussion with Donna. She basically said, don't spend a lot of money on legal stuff now, engaging her. You really need to figure out, is this feasible? And so speaking with the church folks, and then getting that analysis done by Alan Weiser, whatever contractor we decide to use, about feasibility for the well and what we could do vis-a-vis the septic system. So I think those are our next, our next steps. Donna said, she's happy to jump back in whenever we have done that research. the good news, you weren't here for the last meeting.
No.
Paul.
Hmm.
When we, met with Kat Hilton, she was really encouraging, because when I had talked to Alan Weiss, he was like, oh, this is complicated, not only by, the town common, but it's complicated because you might need variances. What we heard from Kat Hilton, representing the Board of Health, was that they're very happy to work with us, and that we shouldn't be, we shouldn't stop in our tracks because we're worried that we couldn't get the variances that you would need. And the variances are because of the locations. I think where things are, you always have to have your well, ideally it's 100 feet from your septic system. They can give a variance on that, but basically, I think the message, and you guys jump in here, was we'd like to see something happen there, and we're happy to work.
And the variance would only be if we decided to do a different septic plan, a tight tank or whatever. Then it becomes a variance of well distance and stuff. But the other thing she said is that the water quality is not a permitting issue as long as it's being filtered out. So the Board of Health doesn't really monitor the water so much as the configurations that make it healthy or not. So at the point where we ended that meeting, it looked like there were two possible paths. Find out if we could use the systems and hook up with the church, or do a tight tank. And the well in that part, I don't think we said, and the alternate for the well is, we didn't do that. So
Mhm.
so we're still looking at which path we want to go down and what are the pieces that will, like the evaluation of the sanitary engineer. And then just from what I've heard, it looks like the septic system is accessible. And as someone said, it would probably need to pump uphill. But I've talked to Russ Wilson, and pumping septic is pretty common now. That's not a big and then the question about the well, and we talked about this, that at that meeting, that it's likely the well would could be drilled to be more capacity. And
Through
so
bedrock, probably. Allison, that talk there. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
I think this one out back here is 300 feet, I think. And, we've got the records, from the Water
Yeah.
Resources Committee on, how much water we got there and so forth. And, of course, it can be different,
yeah.
Right.
10
Julie
feet away, but
Julie Taylor, so
Yeah.
she has two houses that I think they dug wells for. So we know, we drilled,
We have-
yeah. Dug, drilled. So we have some information.
History, some history.
Yeah, from history there.
Yeah.
So,
did Kat have information about like locations of Julie's wells? Because, and septics,
I think the Board of Health has it,
that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have that yet.
right? But
Okay.
again, if we end up using the systems that are there, they're already established, the proper distance and
Well,
stuff.
except the well's not, existing well is not an option.
But if you
Oh.
dug through, if you left it there.
Too
yeah,
shallow.
Too shallow.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to drill down through a shallow well. I mean, they would just drill a new well,
A new well.
even if it's
Entirely.
10 feet away, but
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
it would be a new one.
So I think it raises the question of what's the cost? And we don't know
Right.
fully, because they had to use 600 feet at the library. So what's the cost range for a new well versus, our pressure tanks right here? So one possibility is to trench a line from here over to that building,
Right. And I
see what the cost is of
Yeah.
that.
compare.
Yeah, and if it's done after the treatment, the line is broken off after all treatment, you don't have to have any additional filters or treatment. And then
you know, 1,500 tank, that's a good sized tank.
Yeah, it's.
And, you know, they have very limited use. Whatever we use that,
It's not gonna be.
it's
high
gonna
volume.
be limited.
Yeah,
And just to throw out, have the table
Good.
and
oh, yes, yeah,
for-
about,
yeah.
Table 4.
The Board of State Examiners of Plumbing and Gas Fitters, minimum facilities for building occupancy. And so under places of assembly where it's meeting halls, galleries, libraries, banquet halls, funeral parlors, gymnasiums without permanent seating, it says one, so they haven't broken into male and female. So it says for female, 1 per every 25 up to 200, and male is 1 per 50 up to 200. So
that's bathroom,
bathrooms.
yeah.
And then there's this other classification, places of business, which includes banks, salons, laundries, veterinary clinics, offices.
Mhm.
That's 1 per 20 up to 100 for female and 1 per 25 up to 100. So my thought is, hopefully we could get away just with
One
one
bathroom.
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah. What Alan Weiss, said when I just spoke with him on the phone and was talking to him about, you know, what we had been discussing about whether or not we could come over here for the water, or come over here for the sewer, over here meaning to the town hall. He said the water would be a whole lot easier than the septic.
Septic, yeah.
The septic is a lot more complicated. So it's conceivable that we just divide it, you know, that we say if this existing well here, which is contaminated with salt, we know that. But, you know, it's not used for drinking water. If that makes sense, rather than trying to dig a new well on the town common, and then it would be a question of can we use the existing septic? I think it's all gonna boil down to complexity and cost, right? And those two are related, but the complexity is, part of the complexity is that Article 97 process, and as well as just, getting water over here. Do you need pumps for that, or
No, you wouldn't need it.
Yeah,
The
just flow.
the pump is.
Sufficient?
Pressure
the
tank
Pump
is
is
here.
in the well,
Mhm.
and it
Right.
pumps to here, and it establishes water pressure via the pressure tank. And if you think the vertical rise there is very limited, so it's, the vertical rise in the house is still capable of pushing it, so.
Right.
So that wouldn't be an issue. That-
And if we talk about Article 97, which I don't know anything about, if we are tying into a septic system, I'm not sure that it changes anything.
No.
So they might go fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the water moving across the
Yeah.
street is also not really changing. It won't change the way the
Physicality,
configuration at the end, right? It'll still be the same.
Yeah.
So
I don't know the answer to the question,
Yeah.
like even just digging there, would that have, been an Article 97? Probably not.
Right.
That they're gonna, but I don't wanna.
Right.
I think that, that's for Donna to tell us.
Yeah.
Once we say, this is the path we might wanna go, then let her do that.
I mean, Article 97, exemptions have been, granted by the legislature for many towns that want to
Yeah.
suddenly put a, basketball
Gazebo,
court in,
right,
a ball
right,
field,
right.
so major changes.
Right,
is what
yeah.
we're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and it is the legislature. So, I think that brings us to the point of, if everybody's in agreement of saying, okay, what additional research do we want to do? And, coming up with a scope for, it seems like Alan Weiss is the way to go. We can, through the procurement process, because this is a small contract, I don't think we have an issue, and I will double check that with, our town administrator. So first coming up with the scope, what do we need to know? What can he do? What else, what other third-party assistance we need? And then we have to secure the money for it. And then, going ahead and getting that underway. It's part of our research gathering, because what we're trying to get to, I think here, is some recommendations and attaching some numbers to that. It's going to be important, just, having a range. Obviously, we're not going to have anything. We're not going to have bids, but we would know, okay, let's say we can use the existing septic system. We have to just get at the church. We just need to get the pipes and everything there, what would that entail? And then either what would it cost if we were either gonna dig a new well on the town common or try to use the well over here? What's involved? So he was, his firm does, a pretty broad range of things, but he's out of town. He's reachable, but he's not available to meet with us till probably mid-February.
But he's open to meeting with us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he'd meet
Happy-
with us, but
Yep.
I would rather, I guess what I would recommend doing, because I'm trying to keep this process moving,
Yeah.
is if we could come up with some sort of a scope that he could look at, and, we could go back and forth with him about, he might say, oh, well, you need this done, you need soil borings, or do we need a perk test, or, so we get a budget together too, for his time and any other third party. But yeah, he's not gonna want to spend a lot of time with us without getting paid. I think he's, his hourly rate was 135, 140, something in that neighborhood. And we, given Kat's enthusiastic endorsement of him and just knowing he knows a lot about town, I think it, makes a lot of sense. So,
But when we're not asking for a really broad thing, we're going to try as a committee to say, this is the path we're thinking. And then he looks at it
Yeah.
and says, this is how it would work
yeah,
and what the cost for. So are we ready to say this is the path we're looking for?
Seems to me we're looking for the better options here,
yeah.
best options, and
Yeah, I think the path is, the options that are available to us. So for the septic, I think we would want to concentrate on using the existing system, right? And if that needs improvement or whatever, then so be it. That will be a cost that would be assumed by town of Shutesbury. Water, we could go one of two ways. We could say digging a new well.
Drilling.
Okay, sorry. Drill that into my brain, Susie. Drilling a new well or using
Town hall.
existing town hall well.
Mhm.
I think his investigation would be telling us his recommendation of which way to go. And he might say, you drill a new well, we have bedrock there. You guys are probably going to be down 600 feet. It's going to cost you $50,000 for a well. I have no idea what they cost. But if you say you can come over here, okay, now we have to dig, we have to trench, we have to go underneath Holyville Road in front of Town Hall, and then trench back to the existing well, which we assume has the capacity to, for the water that's needed for the Immense Sphere building. And I think, that's why I would think about laying it out, is saying, here are the paths that we see being taken. What's the what kind of analysis what's it gonna cost us for you to provide recommendations to the feasibility of any one of the, those three things we talked about? So it just needs to be written up in such a way as we're, I guess if we have a draft scope, he could always give us comments back, or we could get somebody who's knowledgeable, maybe Al Warner, to say, does this make sense? Yeah, Stephen.
So, I think before that, have we decided that there's definitely going to be a bathroom over there?
Yes, I think we did decide. I
I
think
don't think, well, we certainly haven't voted. So I guess I'm feeling at this point, we could go through the steps voted wise.
Okay,
Mhm.
and then, so we vote on that, I'm guessing we're gonna say, yes, there's gonna be a bathroom. So then the question is, okay, how are we suggesting that Spear is used? And how are we suggesting some reorganization of town hall? Because there's going to be cost to that. So, if we're going to
Mhm.
pursue reorganization in town hall, then that's another cost that we need to
Yeah.
provide. We know that from what information we got from Devon, that 900 square foot building, if the police were there, is still very small for a local police department. And, we have other thoughts about whether that's a good idea for them to be there, or whether it'd be better to reconfigure this area and create space, which obviously is smaller than that, but it's larger than what they have.
Mhm.
And I think that we can look at these decisions in stages. You don't want to make a decision that precludes some of the future options, but I do think whatever we do, like if we go ahead to figure out the bathroom, then we have the capacity to have meetings with the bathroom or anything with a bathroom. Then the use of the Spear doesn't have to get it's not closed out by not having a bathroom because
Right.
there's a bathroom.
Right.
But I don't think we need to settle all the uses of the Spear yet. And but you're right that the cost to reorganize town hall, and I think actually that comes before understanding more about the uses of the Spear. Because I don't think we ended up raising some questions, and the space in here seems to be an answer for some of the questions that have been raised by this process. So I would say that we vote on the bathroom, and then we vote on our ideas of town hall's physical reorganization, all with the goal of clarifying how we use the Spear. And I can see that being done in stages, so that even if we come to town meeting at whatever time, we're looking for this step to be the bathroom. And then we're looking for, and it could be simultaneous, it could be the funding to redo this room. But I guess I feel we can clarify as a committee if we're going to say, yeah, reorganizing town hall is step 2.
Mhm.
And then continuing to understand the ways we can use a Spear is step 3.
I would agree. I just also want to note that I hear voices that are concerned about the use of the Spear, and
Oh, yeah.
they want to be, they want to be a part of the process in some
Mhm.
way or other.
Well, I think, yeah, we can talk some more about that. I think we were sort of charged with saying, what are the town uses and that's the highest priority. And then if the town uses, if we say, there's, the town doesn't need it for anything, no departments or whatever, or town meeting space, then we could go beyond that. But that's kind of why we did the survey, the town boards and committees too.
So if I could just follow up on Susie's comments for a moment, one of the things that kind of became clear to me, early on in this process was that independent of the Spear building, the police issue is a major one as well. And that kind of led into the
I'm still
whole
watching.
reorganization of this town hall and so forth.
So I'll call you after.
Mark, can you mute yourself? Oh, you did. Okay, thank you.
So
Sorry, Paul.
I guess I don't want to get stuck in a situation where we kind of commit to upgrading the Spear well and septic and also have to deal with the police and decide that this space or whatever is the best for them. Therefore, we're committed to two big projects, simultaneously, basically. I like the idea of being able to kind of space things out, come back to town meeting a year from now, maybe, with phase 2 or phase 3 or whatever. So I just don't want to get caught in a situation where we find we have to do something about the police situation and we have to do something over there and they may not be compatible. We have to do two independent major projects.
So do you think that changing the inside of town hall would also need to be in front of an annual town meeting? No, I don't think so. So
Just some money.
it could be, Paul, that we do the town hall.
Just the money.
Yeah.
being
The money part of it,
At
with
town-
the town meeting.
town
Yeah.
meeting.
So the,
Not the plan.
not the plan. So then that would put the town hall reorganization first. And then the bathroom second, and then future uses of the Spear third.
So you could envision, if I follow you correctly, phase 1,
Mm-hmm.
move the police possibly down here. Phase 2, do something with Spear for whatever we decide to use it. for.
Mhm.
And then, phase 3, 4, 5, beyond.
And I guess I realized in your conversation that we are talking about a recommendation
Right.
to the select board and then the select board to the town. But I believe perhaps the reorganization of the space in town hall is not so much a annual town meeting vote of well, yeah,
Just-
well, and kind of the direction of the use of the Spear. Because that's where we started. How are we going to use the Spear? But I think we have made clear that we have to reorganize the space in town hall. And I'm not sure how much it would cost, because at least we're not dealing with bathrooms here or entrances. We're dealing with walls. And so I think that's going to be different.
What's your sense, Stephen,
Oh.
in kind of the relative ballpark of, is this a major project to redo town hall with what we've talked about, new walls and, so forth?
Well, first
Not
I'll
so
ask you, what do you mean by major in terms of cost?
Well,
I mean,
however you want to interpret.
I don't-
Is this
I
a
don't-
big project?
I think it's more of I'll call it cosmetic. In other words, taking that wall down, that wall has no structural relevance. Moving it, no structural relevance. The kitchen, that was the other thing, redefining that. Again, no structural issues. It's more reworking,
Mhm.
figuring out how to, the kitchen can certainly be a lot smaller. So, you're gonna, maybe you get rid of the existing behemoth stove and put in, a residential size, which, going to be more than adequate, or even an apartment size, which would be even narrower. But, you'd still have a certain amount of counter space, still have the dishwasher.
Sink.
So there's some plumbing costs, there's a radiator that would probably need to be moved, not a big deal. There's all these, it's more than just moving some walls. There's going to
Yeah.
be some electric, there's going to be some plumbing, but it's not, there's no structural issues.
So we might be talking, say, tens of thousands of dollars, $20,000, maybe something like that, I bet. No, more than
Our
that.
library was $9 million.
Well, it's different though. It's
Yeah,
pretty
no,
different. That was site development and RI. This is really,
You'd be
it's
amazed.
done might be more homeowner renovations. And you know how it gets more than people anticipate, but I think that this is not a homeowner either. It's
But
not like,
civil construction.
yeah, I understand that.
Ellen Wade.
Talking about a little bit of money.
Oh,
there.
yeah. Oh, my guess, even though we're not, it's modest, upwards of $50,000. That would not surprise me in the least.
Yeah.
Because once you have to pay prevailing wage, once you have to even moving walls, once you have to deal with, say it was the police department down here, so there are needs, this flooring, which probably don't know, if it's any asbestos, dare I say.
Oh, I would be willing to guarantee you that.
Yeah, so,
But it's not-
those things
Yeah.
to change asbestos removal, which we've done some in the town
Right.
already.
Yeah, okay, so not a small
It's
project
not a small project.
versus, new well, $20,000 to $30,000 maybe, septic
But you'd have other
improvements.
improvements,
So, we're talking about a similar ballpark
Yeah.
at least.
at least.
Yeah.
At least, yeah. And so I like the idea of us proceeding like on two tracks, dealing with the town hall, which I think we always were interested. And then just gathering some preliminary information about the bathroom costs and the well costs. And that's small dollars, but it gives us a piece of information about whether or not that's even feasible. So we could proceed with doing some kind of deeper dive into this building, taking the plans that we have. And I would guess that we would need to engage somebody unless Stephen's willing to do this, to do drawings and to give us estimates about what it would take to create this space down here, to reconfigure.
So are we assuming that we're creating a new police station?
I don't think we're assuming, I think we need to decide that or not.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, before we even get into, contracting with someone for plans and so forth, we need to know what we need. If we need a new police station here, then they need to know that right off the bat. So is that question one for us?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's my guess. And it's a
then-
recommendation.
Right, so maybe
Right.
maybe we do recommendations sooner rather than later, because I was thinking,
Math.
we have to like collect all this information, but if we're gonna get stopped in our tracks by
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Why not,
No,
develop some recommendations and then figure out what additional due diligence, I'll call it, we have to do. Are you guys feeling that we're at the point now? I mean, we're at some decision points. We have to make a decision about bathroom or no bathroom. And engaging, do we want to engage Alan Weiss to give us information that's going to be helpful about how we use the MN Spear building? And do we want to engage somebody to, and again, jump in here if
Well, I would then go to Pat Wilson, who's the one that has the capacity to do the drawings. And, work with her to get something that would be defined enough to have a contractors look at it to give us estimates.
So, I mean, that's great. If we could do that without having to, if on volunteer basis, I guess my question would be, any plumbing or electrical issues, because the sort of HVAC, is where I I look at this and I go, oh my God, like there are pipes everywhere and like you're putting up walls and then how do you allow for, especially with the police station, say it was a police station, it has to be set totally soundproof and you have stuff.
Well, see the pipes as they pass through the wall above the
Yep.
door there, be the same thing.
Same thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's just
would just-
insulated around there.
Yeah, let's cut your sheetrock to fit around and then you fill any voids and seal it and,
Said.
so I guess one question that I have is, my sense is that the police department, and Haley both, feel that that's the place they want.
Right.
So if our recommendation is that we reorganize here, do we, I mean, I expect that they'll say at town meeting, if it's brought up that way, that, this is our recommendation, because we're asking to ask the town, or do we start? with
Well,
the
it would only
select
be
board?
about money. It comes to the select board first. And then, it could, I think the process is that something would go to the select board as the, overseers of town buildings. For town meeting purposes, let's say, we decided we wanted to put an article on this committee because we weren't getting, nobody else wanted to do it. We could put an article onto the town meeting warrant, but yes, it's better if you have some consensus. And, I think everybody kind of jumped to the Emmons Spear building being for the police station because nobody really thought about, could it go here?
Right.
And that's why,
So that's our presentation to the select board. Say that in our review of things, this is the path that seemed to be sort of solve several problems at the same time, costs about this much, and can be implemented in stages. And that our big picture plan is that we want to recommend is, first reorganizing town hall, second,
yeah,
getting a bathroom, and third, expand or thinking more about the uses with the Spear having a bathroom in it.
and I think if we came armed with at least information about the bathroom piece of it, it would be helpful.
Mhm,
Because if you
mhm.
don't, when you were talking in the abstract with like no dollar sign
Right,
attached.
right.
It, I think that holds for what we're doing here. It's just having some basic idea about money.
Mhm.
What if we found out that it was cheaper to put the police department over there? With the new bathroom, whatever
Right.
other adaptations.
But we already went through a part where if we put them over there, it would involve changing the building significantly enough to have to bring it up to code. We've gone through that part of the discussion. It didn't change just putting the bathroom. It did change if there were other changes in the building that would bring it, need to go up to code. I believe we've got
The change, it was a change in,
the change, create a change in use that was
Yeah.
significant enough to invoke a change, meeting code and bring it up to code. And
So that's pretty definite.
I,
Yeah, I'm not,
I'm not.
I don't think that was my
It's
interpretation.
been a while.
Yeah, yeah.
What I
I had to go
what I do
back and look at
remember
other
was-
minutes. Yeah.
As long as it was a meeting space,
Right.
which it currently is, there was no need to put in a bathroom. And then I do remember a comment in response to questions being, as long as you're not doing gut station. But at least went in there, I assume that the improvements should be you'd want to improve the heating system and that that falls into some of the energy issues, which we might be able to get grant money for. And there'd be partition walls and associated electrical for the spaces. So, and I don't know what else they would like, but
I think in
Some
it,
security stuff.
so I'm looking at the minutes from December 18th, number 4. That's when Steve gave us,
Yep.
even gave us his report. And then in the police request TA, originally he was talking about a few cosmetic things, but it also included security.
Right.
And
Entrances, I believe.
yeah, I think the entrance.
Mm.
And they were gonna need to build storage there. And then really the booking thing became a more clear idea of how that space would need to have a way to get
A booking room.
a booking room that is more private. So I thought we did talk about it from the notes of that meeting, that at what point is it considered a change of use, and a permanent department did not sound like office space in the same way of the library being called an office space.
Stephen, the
This-
information about this came from the building inspector in your conversation with him, is
Right.
that right?
Mr. Parkins, right?
So
Oh.
was he presented with the possibility of it like becoming a police station when you had that conversation? And if not, does it make sense to talk to him again about that possibility and see what his response is in terms of, code implications?
I see that I have, I don't remember the specifics, so I'd say revisiting with him would be.
So here them from the minutes from that. April. Yeah, I wasn't under the impression, Susie, and then again, I'm just looking
Yeah,
at these.
Well,
yeah.
I think, once it changed, so change of use from meeting to office space. So that would then necessitate the bathroom,
The bath,
the bathroom. That is what
yes,
But it's-
but we're
Yeah,
gonna
that
do the
is-
bathroom anyway, so that's kind of
Yeah.
a moot point.
It was
Yeah.
it was the code. It was
but I
pretty
don't think,
full
I don't think it was clear. I mean, I know, one of the things was stated is, you need some plans that can be reviewed,
Yeah.
and then that will impact whether or not you have to bring things up to code.
Yeah.
But
And even if we do.
But he clearly did say, I remember, about as long as because I was trying to find out when do we have to meet the current code? And when he said, if you're doing a gut rehab.
Yeah.
Which
So many
I
questions.
don't imagine.
Yeah, I know. We
You know.
took down one path. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, what if we did this? What if we went a little bit further on the design here? And, for this existing space, what the reconfiguration would be. As best we can, now, I don't know if, this is something Pat Wilson can help us with, if we needed to speak to, an electrician or HVAC people, maybe not, maybe I'm just worrying needlessly. But what would that look like? And at the same time, gathering the information about the bathroom, because the bathroom, we're gonna need that regardless, right? Regardless of what we do with that building, bathroom. So doing that, getting Alan Weiss on board to address the issues with the septic and the water. And then kind of going before the select board and saying, here's where we are, and here's what we see as the next steps. And particularly if it's going to involve us, spending any more money than the initial sanitary engineer evaluation. So that's going to be useful regardless of whether it's a police station or it's not a police station. Determined you need to have a bathroom over there.
There's a woman who's on the building committee who
Oh, yeah.
a cook,
Anna, right?
and
She could be
I
very
could
useful.
talk to her
Oh, yeah.
about, if Pat Wilson, we refine this a little bit, maybe she would be willing to spend some time and walking through, talking about these issues, and give us some kind of
That would be
ballpark
great.
range of what she thought it would cost.
She's is one of the owners of Integrity.
Technical
Oh,
construction.
Yeah, construction.
So, these are the two plans that show, which everybody should have, changes that we had talked about. And, the one thing that I thought of today is one consideration. I know the police department, this is more than they have, but it's a lot less than they would like. We could have this partition, instead of going across the column line, come as close as possible to the door, which would increase the space for them a little bit. It still makes that space much larger.
Mhm.
Well, a little bigger because once you move that wall, all of those things are supposed to be against it,
Right.
right? And so,
Hopefully some of them out of here.
yeah, and if they are gonna stick into that space, that might not be great for entering into the back room if the wall is right.
Yeah, well, I agree.
Yeah, so
So maybe
I'd say just leave it.
leave that.
And it is bigger, and it might be better organized than their upstairs
Yes.
space. And,
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
and it also meets a lot of the other requirements that they were feeling compelled by. So,
And then
Yeah.
remember in discussion, they had brought up about sort of privacy in terms of coming in and how we talked about
Mhm.
fence and then maybe a gate. So if they were bringing somebody in, they could open the gate, drive in. So it'd be, area outside that's, we'll say fenced, maybe that, I don't know if that gate is electric.
Mhm. and I think when the town makes changes, it, sort of looking forward into it is a little bit, too nerve-wracking, too undefined. But so again, I think staging these changes is
Right.
probably better. So we might not do the fence and all that until they get here and say, oh yeah, we actually have enough privacy. And
Got it.
so I would like to sort of not
Start with just the interior.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think that makes sense.
I mean, the privacy issue, I guess it could be soundproofed or something.
It's visibility, so if you're parking here and then, say you've arrested somebody and bringing them in. It's not like walking them, well, now you'd walk through the front door of town hall.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, here it could be a lot more.
I have just a quick question about how frequently the police arrest people in Shutesbury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Given what I've seen about the crime rate, the need for a separate booking space and some of the things that they're talking about, I don't know. And when you start talking about locked gates that are visible and like all of this stuff, to me, in the ideal of community policing, you don't want to look like you're creating some sort of fortress here.
Right.
And so I think decisions about space ought to also go along with ideas about what are the actual functions of the police department in Shutesbury and what is really priority necessary for their space
Mhm.
and what may just be, something else. And those priorities, I think, the town should have some input into that somehow, right? It shouldn't just be,
Some of it's legal though, Mary Jo,
Yeah.
because I know, so, right, with the booking space, like they can't book anybody here, so they take them to Sunderland or to Belchertown. So ideally, and then that takes that police officer out. Now, granted, if you did one arrest a year, you know,
I'm
that,
saying,
you
are
know,
we talking about?
but I,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know,
That is a,
Hours
I always wondered,
of
how many people are arrested by the police?
Yeah.
But the other piece is that Devon's reflecting the state push, which doesn't apply
Yes.
to us because we don't have a zillion arrests. But
So
there's a push and a shove. And so, yes, I do feel like, again, in the staging thing, if we try getting this far, then we might say, oh, this is actually very comfortable. And so the booking space is in the plan. And that's coming out of some of the space in the kitchen. And is that going to be a big impact on the cost of doing it? I don't know. But I think that addresses some of their concerns without costing us a lot. But it doesn't, I am not ready for more than that right now.
yeah.
yeah,
I thought the space, the redefined space, I thought this was going to be their evidence closet.
right.
That was my impression. that
Yeah,
space
we
was
hadn't,
needed for
and we
evidence
hadn't,
storage.
done any
Yeah.
Thought there was some-
defining.
Of the division within the bigger space.
Yeah,
They should.
And it's
They
just a
can do
little
that,
room,
right.
like it's a little room that doesn't have any special, might have some, a little bit more soundproofing, but it's not like you're doing a whole lot more wiring or plumbing or whatever for that booking space.
Well, it feels like we're kind of zeroing in on, a good
Mhm.
good strategy here, a plan. I guess the one part that still makes me a little uneasy is the fact that both Devin and Haley, are pushing for something different
Yeah.
than what we would be proposing. So
right.
I'm just wondering if we need to have some more conversations with them before
Yeah.
we do anything official in terms of a recommendation, at least.
Yeah, I think, I think we could do that. When it's been brought up with Devin, when I've had conversations with him, he's always said, well, if you go this way, it wasn't like, wasn't
he was-
so absolute.
either.
Yeah, he was
All right.
acknowledging that we might come up with a separate recommendation. And it has to get through town meeting too. So,
Right.
that's a place for, for public input as well as, other opportunities. I don't see the public deciding about how space is going to be used here. Like, oh no, you can't have a booking room that's 120 square feet or, whatever. That kind of micromanagement is just
Right.
not.
But can the public decide whether the police are there or here?
Well, it would be a monetary thing, I would think, that would come before, and I don't know, like a town meeting vote, it's not typically a town meeting decision, but, they could vote with, say there was a big difference, say it was, $100,000 to put them over there and it was 50 to do it here. And those were the two options. Well, then town meeting.
Right.
But, I think, I don't think it should be I don't know.
Because I think, I think
I don't-
Mary Jo's point about how does Shutesbury want the police department to say, what is their sense of the police department, where it's located, what its job is, so to speak, in Shutesbury? Do we want, do we want this fortress look, or, do we want to give them their own space? You brought up the points early on about, when they're over there, they're over there.
Right,
You don't
right.
know what goes on behind closed doors. And here, if it gets really loud, somebody's upstairs going, wait a minute, what's going on down there?
And there's a sense of community presence in the community town hall.
Mhm.
There is. And so that doesn't have to even be, it just is. part of our community. So
And I mean, the idea of private but welcoming. to
Yes.
me
Yes.
Seems like
Mhm.
what you would ideally want to achieve
Mhm.
with a community policing model, which is what we've agreed that we want. I
Yes.
think everybody agrees that that's what we want.
Yeah.
Including everybody that's interviewing for the police chief job, which I can tell you
Right.
right now that that was what everybody said
Yeah.
that they wanted.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
it's definitely, I know on my mind too, because we, talking about that with the chief, so.
So in terms of process, do we need Stephen to clear up more definitively that the impact of putting the police department in the Spear Building would have a specific cost attached to it?
Or your
or-
question really is, will it require us to bring the building up to code?
Right,
That's
following
really
up,
the
we're
question.
Right.
really, and I think if it were posed to,
Hawkins?
Jim Hawkins as, we're looking at these two different spaces. Each one has its own, rehabilitation needs, but the big concern is if we move the whole department in there and we were creating offices and I don't know if the electrical needs to be upgraded.
They need to have the security system upgraded, they said. So whatever,
But is that?
there's no security there now, so.
Electrical,
So-
there's plumbing.
Either way, that would have to be done.
So we'd be putting in the bathroom and we'd be doing, an upgrade.
I think there are state regs for police.
Well,
buildings.
that's the certification, what he talked about. So there's two levels, like the police department has to get certified and then there's another
Accreditation.
accreditation. He said, we're never going to get to the accreditation part because that's like really big for police departments, but getting certified. And so the post commission, which is the police oversight or whatever they're going through this process with what does accreditation, not accreditation, I'm sorry, certification
Right,
mean?
even that is still.
And it's unclear. And then, what often happens in these cases is you'll have, the post commission of the state telling you something, but then they'll say for communities
For
under
others, right.
certain population, you don't have to come up to that level because, the costs are such that, we don't expect. But knowing those certification pieces, how they impact the physical space is important. And I assume, having that booking area in your own community where you're not taking a police officer, out of town with somebody's been arrested. It's what we're doing now is not ideal. Would it endanger our certification? We don't have the answer because I think what he said was that the police chiefs are, having all this discussion with Post, saying like, don't, make it so crazy and so onerous that we can never get certified.
So are you going to be talking with Jim again? Is that
Yeah,
the plan?
yeah.
So
So-
the two questions in my mind, I mean,
Yep.
one is, if we are considering a police station there
Right.
now, and you could describe what, in general terms, at least what that would mean in terms of changing the space. Would it require, upgrading to,
Right, code.
the code?
Yeah,
And secondly, what does that mean if we had to, to upgrade everything to state code? I mean, can he just kind of list off,
Yeah.
the general categories at least of what it would mean versus just, partitioning and doing everything for a meeting space?
right. I think probably the most significant thing is it probably would require it to come up to the energy code, insulation code,
That's
which would
right.
mean opening up the walls.
The wall.
And so then you're kind of a gut rehab
Yeah.
because, and,
Okay, well, anyway,
given the code and given the insulation code now, you'd probably have to take the siding off, put rigid on the exterior.
Yep.
So
And
May
then
as
you
well-
have to deal with the roof. Yeah.
no, the roof should be okay. I mean,
Lovely.
Would they have to insulate the space up above?
well, it is insulated, but that would be easy to blow.
Right, okay,
Sure.
yeah. Yeah, so you-
That would not be, it'd be the exterior wall insulation,
Yeah.
which I think would require interior and exterior, which means you have to reside the building.
And the electrical system might have to be upgraded?
Well, we're gonna,
Knob and runner? No, I'm.
no, it doesn't have,
I
any-
know.
it doesn't have any knob and tube. But to add more mini splits.
Yeah.
You probably want to, and they're going to have more electrical use, so you probably want to go to a 200 amp service, but that's a pretty small addition.
And this one just changed fuse boxes, right, into breakers. So I don't know what they have. over
They
there.
have, theirs is circuit breakers. Yeah.
Okay.
What about the basement?
Yeah, I was
open
just thinking
is
about the
curious.
basement.
Well, that would also be something that would have to, the insulation would have to be dealt with there, but you could do, there was a energy analysis recently, which I accompanied them on and talked about, right now they have the underfloor space insulated with fiberglass bats.
Yeah.
Mice have
Love it.
Mhm.
done a number on it. So that would need to get ripped out. But what you could do is then you actually insulate the exterior wall instead. And
From
then
the-
that space from the inside, and that becomes then quote a conditioned space. Right now, when they did it the way they did it, the idea was we don't have to heat the basement. I mean, not that you're going to heat the basement, but there'd be some, say, quote, heat that would just come from convection through the floor. But insulated that, so those walls, basement walls should have to be insulated. Yeah. So the insulation, I think, would be the
Yeah.
big
Anyway,
problem because of all the associated cost. If you could just slap it on
yeah,
the outside of the building and on the inside without tearing the walls up.
I think, whatever.
Yeah.
Input,
Mhm.
Yeah.
we could get from him would be helpful.
Yeah.
On any of that information. And the other thing, I'm gonna have to leave very shortly, unfortunately, but the other thing I wanted to say is I think following up with Alan Weiss would be really important. And, if he's willing to come and, sit with us for a half an hour at some point, just so we can talk about, what we would need to pull together, what, he would need, just kind of a planning session basically with
sure.
him
Yeah.
before we, come up with like a scope of services or
Okay.
anything. I mean, we can be pulling together Board of Health information on well locations and well depths and,
So I'd say it's as planning session to maybe to develop a scope.
develop a scope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly, right.
Okay,
And then we can see what information we can pull together and then, what
Yeah.
we need to contract with him for.
Yeah. yeah,
That would be helpful.
that would be,
Next step.
And
Yeah.
that he's gone till late February?
no, I think it was mid-February.
February, okay.
So, and I'm going out of town next week for a couple of weeks. You're gonna be out, you're gone,
I'm going mid-February
you're
to
leaving mid-February.
mid-March.
Okay.
The next.
All right, well, so can we just quickly do like a task list? So I'll get in touch with Alan Weiss and then have him come to, are you available to hybrid in to a meeting or are you?
Well, I'm going to
Taking
be
the
in
time.
Barcelona, so that's,
Oh,
I think-
Barcelona,
I think that's 6 hours time.
yeah, okay, forget that.
Yeah, good
Enjoy
broadband.
Barcelona, don't worry about us. But, and Paul, when do you leave?
We're leaving the 10th till the 17th, so not just a week.
I'm gone from the 29th to the 13th
29th.
of January. January 29th. Next week, we'll leave it next week.
Right, that's right.
But you thought you could maybe zoom in? I mean, so.
I could ask him, yeah, I will ask him if he could zoom in. I think he's with family and he's in
And
the
what about
United
you?
States anyway.
Would you zoom in?
Um,
What's the next possible date? I
Yeah, what's-
lost a calendar. I had it. What?
The next meeting?
Yeah, the next meeting. That's sort of that's 2 weeks from now. That's before you leave.
It's before I leave.
Before you get back.
And then but but I could either zoom in
Okay.
or just like,
Paul goes.
yeah, so why don't we plan on February 5th?
Okay.
Then I will do my best, and if I can't be here, I have full confidence in you guys, and I will, weigh in on stuff. I could see if Alan could come then
Mhm.
via Zoom. And if he can't, then we would have to do 12th and the 19th, February 19th is the meeting. Would be the next meeting date.
Yep.
And
And by the 5th, Stephen might have the details from Jim Hawkins.
Yeah, I'll get information from Jim Hawkins and I'll talk to Pat Wilson, see if we can
Make that.
find these a little bit. Now, we will not have any partitions in this, quote,
That's
police
right.
department
They could
space,
be-
which will add to cost, but that's gonna happen when, I mean, she might be able to give me off the top of her head, well, or a like rough linear foot cost for partition and associated electrical.
just, so the combination is of Pat Wilson and then Anna would be the one more that we would give plans to.
Yeah, Pat would be, Pat and I would work on the plans.
Okay,
We'd have a discussion and then Anna, if willing.
Yeah.
Will look at those and give us some kind of ballpark.
okay.
So we think all that will happen in preparation for the 5th, meeting on the 5th.
God, I hope so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, how about we schedule after that, give an update as a committee to the select board. So I keep them in touch and Brennan obviously is here, but I have told Haley sort of as, we're working, this is where this committee's going. Yeah, so I've kept her up to date. Brennan, stuff when the select board meeting is in, the middle of February. The 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, that is the 17th. That's school vacation week, right? But so 17th. So then we would prepare an initial report at the meeting on the 5th for the select board. Just, 1-page update, kind of get. That makes sense? Okay. Good. Inch by inch.
So when I talk with Pat,
Yeah,
what I'm assuming is she'll come over here, we'll meet over here and look at the spaces and talk about, for instance, the non-used water fountain, that'll get removed. Because there's gonna be.
Right.
In the hallway. Right.
And then I will just say, well, we're gonna put in a smaller range and we'll
So
put
you have
that,
that space.
and we'll move
Yeah.
this. And so do some simple reorganization in the kitchen area. And then it may be possible, I would like to think one of those doors you can just leave for
Mhm.
the entry to the closet.
Mhm.
Probably the one with the doorknob on it. Plus that swings out, which is
Right.
better for
Right.
going into the closet space.
And we don't have to define it as closet. It's just more space. They can
Right.
choose
Right.
Yeah,
a booking room or
Right.
not.
but there's a radiator that will be
Yeah.
in that space. That'll get moved to the kitchen side.
Mhm.
So there'll be things like that that I see that it's like
Okay,
this, because that's gonna be cost. And then any movement of partitions, they'll all get electrified. I mean, that, we'll just say that wall comes to where the posts are and that'll be electrified in terms of receptacles on each side.
and the other issue for the police was the security here, all the windows
Yeah.
is not having, yeah, it's sort of blocking us off. I hate the thought of it, but,
But we don't know if just shades pulled is enough. I mean, wasn't security like a burst in?
no, it was like breaking.
Like-
I didn't hear that.
Get bars all over.
Well,
I think it is,
it is
I
a
think it is
possibility.
breaking in as.
Really, I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but I mean, it could be that it's alarm. You know, and that would solve it, but no, it's definitely breaking in too.
Well, there's going to be, certainly a light and ventilation requirement. So there are going to have to be some windows. Depends on how they divide it up, but you could certainly just put a partition, or you could put, you could take, say, 3/4 inch, maybe not even that thick plywood and
Yeah.
attach it, paint it.
Yeah.
But, that's something that, I mean, I can mention that to Anna, but I don't think we know what that's going to involve yet.
Can you check with, do you mind talking to Devin about the windows, just the security issues with the windows?
Seems like it wouldn't be too advisable to be in this space without natural light.
No, I know, I
Well, you-
agree.
There's a, the code has a light ventilation requirement, so you could not
Block them off.
cover all those windows.
Do you want me to do that? Because he's got.
Talk to Devin.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
talk.
that would be great.
And would you feed that back to
Yeah.
Stephen too? That'd be great.
And unless it feels like it's too premature, I wouldn't mind collecting some like Board of Health information about well and septics, around the town common,
Yeah.
These property and. so
Yeah.
forth.
I'll
Let me do it.
look into it.
You will do that?
Yeah, great.
So about what's already up there, how they found their septic and wells to work.
Yeah, I mean, well depth,
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, drilling logs, would be great to have for the local wells and then locations, so we know where setbacks would.
And to know whether or not we have PFAS in other places too, which Brennan would have those addresses.
I don't agree that we need to look into that yet because the two pieces of our solution don't involve that.
That meaning,
Can be filtered.
Where the septic is, because right now, what we're looking at is using a septic that's already existent and water from over here.
just be a new well, yeah.
Yeah,
if we go
so I guess I would put that off right now. Because it's information that may be totally irrelevant pretty shortly.
Okay, looking for something to do.
Hey,
All right, oh.
you can shovel my yard. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we have the next meeting set for
Did
February.
we ever approve the minutes?
No, we didn't. Thank you. I kept thinking about that. Okay, so I hear a motion to approve the minutes from January 8th,
I move
2026.
that we have
Second,
minutes.
second,
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor
And-
signify by saying aye.
aye.
Unanimous. Aye.
Well, I have to
Abstain.
abstain since I.
Oh, okay. All right. We have one abstention. All right. And I think that does it.
Yeah.
Thank you all. That was a long meeting,
Move to
but
adjourn. Bye.
okay.
Do you want
Adjourn.
copies of this?
Would you like an opportunity to sign a postcard going to the governor about restoring
Thank you, everybody.
aid?
Boris.
Yeah. Would you like one of those, Mary Jo?
Oh, sure.
Okay. I'm mailing them in en masse in Henry.
Oh.
And
I
so
did it.
there's two sides. Yeah. So these are some problems we know. Yeah.
They are.
As a,
And then you can, on the front, when you're writing as a voter or taxpayer or a concerned citizen or
any of the above.
all of the above. You can put many things on that line,
Alright.
because most of us are multi-people. Oh,
Well,
Huh.
we talked about, we want to get away,
Yeah.
some of the winter cold, and